It all began on a quiet autumn afternoon when Daniel returned home earlier than usual. His workday had ended before the evening rush, and he looked forward to surprising his partner, Emily, with dinner. He carried a small paper bag filled with ingredients, her favorite pasta, a bottle of wine, and freshly baked bread. He imagined her smile when she opened the door, the warmth of their small apartment, and the familiar comfort of their life together. But when Daniel walked in, the atmosphere was different. The living room felt strangely unsettled. Emily was there, but instead of rushing to greet him, she froze. Her phone slipped into her pocket too quickly, as though she had been caught doing something she didn't want him to see. Daniel noticed the tension immediately, though he tried to brush it off at first. "Hey," he said gently, setting the bag on the counter. "I thought I'd surprise you tonight." Emily forced a smile, but her eyes flickered away. "That's sweet. I wasn't expecting you home so soon." For weeks, Daniel had sensed small shifts in her behavior. She had become quieter, sometimes distracted, other times overly cheerful in ways that felt rehearsed. Their conversations had shortened. Her phone seemed always within reach, her notifications quickly dismissed. He wanted to believe it was just stress, maybe pressure from her new job, but deep down, he feared something else. That night, over dinner, Emily barely touched her food. She laughed at his jokes, but her laughter sounded thin, hollow. Daniel studied her face, searching for the girl he had fallen in love with, the one whose laughter used to fill the room like sunlight. Now, there was a shadow in her gaze. The next day, Daniel tried to ignore his growing unease, but curiosity gnawed at him. He found himself glancing at her phone when she wasn't looking, paying attention to the way she guarded it. It wasn't who he wanted to be, but something inside him whispered that the truth was slipping past him, like water through his fingers. One evening, while Emily showered, her phone lit up on the coffee table. A message flashed across the screen. It wasn't explicit, just a few words, simple enough, but filled with intimacy that shouldn't have belonged to anyone but him. Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't read further. He didn't need to. The confirmation was enough. He placed the phone back exactly as it was and sat in silence until she emerged from the bathroom. Emily wrapped herself in a towel, her hair damp, her cheeks flushed from the steam. She smiled, oblivious to the storm inside him. Daniel looked at her and wondered how long this secret had been living between them. He wanted to ask, but fear held him back. If he spoke, everything might unravel. Days turned into weeks. Daniel lived in quiet torment. Every word from Emily felt like a puzzle piece that no longer fit. He tried to confront her in small ways, asking if she was happy, if something was wrong. She always shook her head, insisted everything was fine, kissed him quickly, and changed the subject. Her evasions felt like walls he couldn't climb. Finally, one night, he couldn't hold it in. They were sitting on the couch, the television flickering with a show neither of them was watching. Daniel muted the sound. His voice was steady, though his hands trembled. "Emily," he said, "I need to ask you something. Are you being completely honest with me?" Her body stiffened. She turned to him slowly, her eyes widening just enough to betray her fear. For a moment, silence stretched between them like a chasm. Then she sighed, lowering her gaze. "I didn't mean for things to get complicated," she whispered. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. The room seemed to tilt. He had prepared for this moment, but the reality was worse than he imagined. "So it's true," he said quietly. "There's someone else." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She nodded faintly. It wasn't supposed to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. Her words stabbed at him. He had loved her with everything he had. He had built his world around her, trusted her. Now that trust lay shattered, scattered like glass across the floor. He tried to hold himself together, but the pain was too sharp. Why? He asked, his voice cracking. Was I not enough? Emily shook her head desperately. It wasn't about that. You are enough. It's me. I was lost, confused. I thought I needed something different, and I made a terrible mistake. Daniel turned away, his hands covering his face. He couldn't look at her, not when the image of her with someone else burned behind his eyes. Every memory they shared now felt poisoned, tainted by the knowledge of her deception. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Emily stayed, but the distance between them grew unbearable. She tried to explain, to apologize, to promise she would fix everything. But Daniel couldn't find it in himself to forgive so quickly. Trust, once broken, is not easily mended. One evening, Daniel left the apartment and wandered the city streets. The lights blurred, the sounds of traffic echoing around him. He thought about their years together, the laughter, the adventures, the quiet nights. He wondered how much of it had been real, how much had been a lie. He realized he was standing at a crossroads, to stay and try to rebuild, or to leave and protect what remained of his dignity. When he returned home, Emily was waiting at the door. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She reached for him, but he stepped back. I can't do this right now, he said. His voice was tired, stripped of anger. I need space. Emily broke down, begging him not to give up, swearing she would prove her love. But Daniel knew this was no longer just about love. It was about trust, respect, and the fracture that had split them apart. Weeks later, after endless conversations, tears, and sleepless nights, Daniel made his decision. He packed his bags quietly, not out of hatred, but out of self-preservation. Emily watched him go, her face pale, her body trembling. He paused at the door, looking back one last time. I wanted forever with you, he said softly. But forever can't be built on secrets. And with that, he walked away. The story did not end with a dramatic explosion or shouting match. It ended in silence, in the quiet recognition that love alone is not enough. Sometimes the deepest wounds are invisible, carved into the soul by the blade of broken trust. Daniel started a new chapter of his life, painful, uncertain, but free. Emily was left with the echoes of her choices, carrying the weight of what she had lost. In the end, both learned the same lesson. Honesty is the foundation of every bond, and once it crumbles, everything changes.